So why don't we start with some prayer? Please pray with me. Breathe. Just breathe and be here. Nothing special. Just know you are here and can be however you need to be. Now try to open to God. Say something to yourself. Think about something. Say something out loud if you need to. Just try to open to God. Amen. Today's sermon has little to do with this week's election results or the candidates and their platforms. Instead, it has a lot to do with us as a nation, as a community of people, as Christians. The most partisan I will get today is to loudly and boldly proclaim, Coke is better than Pepsi. A few months ago, I was talking to Bruce Epperly about preaching on this Sunday, and I suggested that the sermon should be the same no matter who won. Then we paused, shifted a little bit. I think there was a, yeah, but, and then we moved on to something else. Over the next months, I thought about why it would be hard to preach the same sermon no matter who won. I recognize that being in the DC world of policy professionals and having candidates who are very different presents real challenges. But as the election drew nearer, I began to see that one sermon was possible if it was focused on the right needs, if it was concerned with community, relationship, and a sincere desire to learn. That approach has been affirmed by some of you. The evening of the election, about 10 of us gathered in the parlor for a prayer service. After a short gospel reading, we shared reflections. The first offering was about a fresh awareness of how those we are often with can hold different views, and how learning that can surprise us sometimes. This person shared about a recent experience like that and how it impacted her. Her reaction was to tell this person who had shared a very different viewpoint that she loved her, even though they had different opinions. The interaction led her to focus more deeply on the question, how can we love one another better? How can we love one another better? And that desire was the thread that held together the rest of that reflection time. In today's reading, Jesus came near and saw the city and wept over it, saying, if you, even you, had only recognized on this day the things that make for peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes. Jesus cried, not because he felt defeated or because one tribe or group beat another. He cried because of division, because so many people did not understand his message and his mission, because he knew the ramifications of hatred. Jesus stands on the edge of Jerusalem toward the end of his journey and his many efforts to help people know God's love and how that can change. And he sees division that makes him cry. It hits him how hard establishing peace will be when those involved cannot even see clearly what that requires. Jesus is experiencing sadness and loss on a large scale. His tears are for people who he wishes could understand a deeper reality. But he's not just sad. Hear his words again and think about what the tone might have been. If you, even you, had only recognized on this day the things that make for peace. I sense anger, frustration, almost a little, I told you so. But his anger did not prevent him from going deeper to access his sadness. that can require a lot of awareness and intentionality. It even requires practice. When we express anger, we are often manifesting the impact on us of a range of emotions, needs, and unmet needs. It's like shaking this bottle and then opening it. The anger is the first thing to get released because of all the other stuff, the emotions, the needs, the stuff that's down here. This is often how we manifest, how we present, what happens when we're in those moments of stress. And that's often unconscious until you decide to make it conscious. What leads to anger, what is underneath it, what causes it, is often sadness, fear, the need for forgiveness, tenderness, and love. Underneath anger is often sadness. You go deeper with that, some fear, a need for tenderness, forgiveness, and even love. I don't know where each of you are today. Maybe some of these words apply, maybe not. And it's not important that this model I'm lifting up fits you perfectly, as much as that it might help you deepen some awareness at this time. Some of these aspects, these emotional situations, require you to ask if they apply to you or others. For example, if forgiveness or tenderness is needed, do you need to forgive yourself? Offer yourself tenderness? Or someone else? Or even another group? Moreover, this way of understanding could apply to where you are right now and how you work with that. Or it can help you think about where others might be or have been. It might help you be more sensitive and open to how we are all tossed to and fro by often political, communal dynamics. So maybe Jesus was holding all these emotions and needs as he looked over Jerusalem, as he thought about all he had tried to do for the world and its peoples. Maybe that relates to our current story. Even if the election had gone the other way, an immense challenge to unity and stability in our nation would still exist. The way we often relate to others, or don't relate at all, is hurting us, and probably making God weep. What are Christians called to do? Maybe, first of all, get down to the root of how we are feeling now. Not about the election results, but about each other and those groups who hold different views than us or than you. Perhaps our most important task is to think about how we work harder for unity and peace, like Jesus did. We have power to decide how we go forward and witness. And I felt a similar power recently. In May, I went to Israel and Palestine with a group of pastors and faith leaders to show solidarity to those impacted over the last year, both Israelis and Palestinians. It was my second trip over 10 years with the Telos group, which takes Americans from across the political and theological spectrums on pilgrimages to the Holy Land to understand the complexities from people who live in them, to understand what witness means. Several persons we meet with on these trips are part of the Parent Circle, a joint Israeli-Palestinian organization of over 700 families, all of whom have lost an immediate family member to the conflict to the other side. They promote peace by telling their stories of reconciliation and forgiveness, of offering a different way forward. They have formed strong bonds with the other, who they were raised to hate, whose countries, leaders, and cultures often advocate different ways: violence, retribution. These brave leaders represent a minority who understand that the way forward is not about us and them or dehumanizing another group. Having been with these members of this group and hearing their stories, I believe that to honor the Israeli and Palestinian peoples in efforts to promote peace, one must learn to hear and hold stories from both sides without comparing, equating, balancing, or looking for a winner. Before anyone thinks they have a grand solution to this conflict, they must be human and be with the pain, anger, fear, and hope of each person and people. They must honor story and needs. Humanity first. Understanding. We are all in this together. One thing that struck me from this last trip is that we heard often about anger. But I rarely felt that anger was misdirected or that it took control. It was moving to hear how so many people have been subjected to violence, pain, and loss, and yet apply anger in constructive ways. Perhaps because they are well acquainted and in touch with the sadness and loss that comes below that. I think that helps them unite us more than judgment. It helps unite them with people on the other side more than judgment. As one parent circle member said, I had to decide what to do with anger. Get even or try to understand how I am connected and if I bear some responsibility. These folks relive the sadness, the need to forgive, the need for tenderness on purpose as they share their stories over and over with the hope that their witness can change relationships, dialogue, and the views of leaders. They start with the people near them on all sides, not with the leaders who often frustrate them. Members of the parent circle have hope and are grounded in ways I can't fully understand beyond the head level. I'm not really sure they understand it in that way either, because they live from a deeper place. Many are not Christian and don't talk about Jesus, but they sure do act like him. They live out his way. They show what the gospel in action should look like. Because they really have no choice. And maybe that's our greatest challenge, is that we do have a lot of choice. Before leaving, we had a service of Holy Communion on the Mount of Olives. That's where Jesus wept. And we wept there too for the current conflict. And I weep now, not because of the outcome of the election, but because of long fractured relationships and ways of being in our country. We have power, personal, communal, Christian witness. So I ask myself, when and how will I choose to use that differently than in past years? Decades ago, I left political advocacy work to promote bridge building within the Beltway. It's sort of nice and no one laughed. I've kept that focus in much of what I've done since, and it's great to see that bridging efforts and roles are becoming more common in civic sector work and political work. But you know what? To pursue that work at a policy level is different from living it out deeply with the people involved, and with others in our lives. Our challenge as Christians in DC is not only to engage with efforts on behalf of our nation in public policy, but also to seek understanding and relationship with people in all walks of life who differ greatly from us. I don't yet have a plan for what this looks like in my life. But I do know this: any change I want to live out has to start deep within me. Working with anger, sadness, fear, and love is a good start. And that doesn't have to prevent me from screaming or crying or whatever I need to do. I can do all of that. I can be like all of that. And hopefully I can know why. So in this moment, honor where you are. Be okay with that. Be real about it. Be honest about it. And in the next moment, honor what is required of you because you choose to go deeper and use your power of awareness, desire, and intention. You might weep like Jesus, or you might start to work to see the things hidden from your eyes that make for peace. And none of that prevents you from being politically active, opinionated, or doing the jobs and roles you've done in this town for maybe many years. Just try to do that in ways that honor a deeper being. Be like that. All of